Hi, I'm Michael Wan. Thanks for watching us today. Trump versus Mueller. That is the subject of today's op-ed, and this is from The Hill. So President Donald Trump took aim at special counsel Robert Mueller one day after Mueller said in a new filing that Trump's former campaign chairman, Paul Manafort, had violated a plea agreement by lying to federal prosecutors. In a series of tweets, Trump lashed out at Mueller, accusing him of causing tremendous damage to the nation's criminal justice system and calling the special counsel a conflicted prosecutor who is only looking at one side in his investigation, which is completely true. This is what Trump tweeted. The phony witch hunt continues, but Mueller and his gang of angry Dems are only looking at one side, not the other. Wait until it comes out how horribly and viciously they are treating people, ruining lives for them refusing to lie. Mueller is a conflicted prosecutor gone rogue. The fake news media builds Bob Mueller up as a saint, when in actuality, he is the exact opposite. He is doing tremendous damage to our criminal justice system, where he is only looking at one side and not the other. Heroes will come of this, and it won't be Mueller and his people. The president went on to reference the FBI's shuttered investigation into former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton, which chastised the former Democrat presidential nominee as extremely careless for her use of a private email server to do official business at the State Department. Of course, she shouldn't have done that, and she should have been charged for that. But James Comey did not charge her. So this is what Trump said regarding this at Twitter. The now $30 million witch hunt continues, and they've got nothing but ruined lives. Where is the server? Let these terrible people go back to the Clinton Foundation and Justice Department. The tweets did not specifically mention Paul Manafort, but in the court filings on Monday, Robert Mueller accused Manafort of committing federal crimes by lying to the FBI and special counsel's office. This is what the court filing said. After signing the plea agreement, Manafort committed federal crimes by lying to the Federal Bureau of Investigation and the special counsel's office on a variety of subject matters, which constitute breaches of the agreement. Lawyers for Manafort's team responded asking the judge to move forward with Manafort's sentencing, ending more than 2 months of cooperation between Manafort and the special counsel investigation. This is what Manafort's lawyer said. He believes, he being Paul Manafort believes Manafort has provided truthful information and does not agree with the government's characterization or that he has breached the agreement. Given the conflict in the parties' positions, there is no reason to delay the sentencing herein, and he asks the court to set a sentencing date in this matter. And Trump's tweets also came shortly after an announcement from an associate of former Trump campaign advisor, Roger Stone. So Roger Stone, I interviewed him last year. He is the centerpiece right now about this whole Russia collusion nonsense. The deep state is trying to cook up some kind of collusion between Roger Stone and I'm about to mention Jerome Corsi and also Paul Manafort, that they are somehow related to Russia and somehow related to WikiLeaks and Julian Assange. This is all fiction. I want to warn our viewers of that. This is pure fiction. The mainstream media will never cover it that way, so that's why I analyze it for you. So he had rejected a deal with a special counsel to plead guilty to lying to investigators, he being Paul Manafort. So the associate, Jerome Corsi is said to be under investigation for his contacts with Julian Assange, the WikiLeaks founder whose website was involved in the posting of thousands of emails, according to the mainstream media, hacked by Russian intelligence sources. Jerome Corsi, you got to know who Jerome Corsi is. Jerome Corsi is one of the analysts in InfoWars. InfoWars, I don't know whether you know it, but InfoWars has been banned pretty much by more than 100 formats like YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. I mean, you name it. He's banned in all those platforms. And Jerome Corsi, he is a guy who's into this conspiracy theory. I mean, he's a conspiracy theorist, and the mainstream media do not like him. I think Jerome Corsi also got a White House pass. I think he got a weekly pass or something like that. He got a pass, but Jerome Corsi and Roger Stone, they are colleagues. So somehow the mainstream media and the Democrats want Roger Stone and Corsi and Paul Manafort and Julian Assange, somehow they want to portray that they're somehow working together. So Stone and Corsi have repeatedly denied contacts with WikiLeaks or Julian Assange or advance notice about the theft or publication of the emails. But what you got to know is it's not hacked emails. If you think about it, I mean, they say it's hacked emails. No, it was a phishing scam. John Podesta, who was a campaign manager for Hillary Clinton, his email was not hacked, if you want to be technically correct. It's not hacked. It wasn't hacked. It was a phishing scam. Somebody asked him, hey, your email has been scammed. You have to change your email password. And he replied to that. And when he replied to the person who had been phishing him, he gave out his new password. And that's how this person, we don't know who that person is, but this person found out about John Podesta's email password, and that's how he got all the information in his email. And you know, if you look at the email, there's so many weird, odd contents there. And I think that's the reason why the Democrats and John Podesta and Hillary people are so angry about this whole situation. But now they are saying, the deep state, the Democrats are saying somehow Paul Manafort is in this picture. Now, Paul Manafort has never been mentioned about Russia collusion. He has not been charged regarding Russia collusion. He has been charged because of tax evasion and bank fraud. Nothing to do with Russia. So today in the Drudge Report, the top news at the Drudge Report, it says this: Manafort held secret talks with Assange. And CNN came out with, Paul Manafort met with Ecuador president, and WikiLeaks denies. I believe in WikiLeaks. WikiLeaks had never had to retract any story. I think they are now 11 years old or 13 years old or something like that. They never had to retract anything. I mean, I will tell our viewers and readers, if you have to believe a media outlet, believe WikiLeaks. WikiLeaks has never had to retract anything. Of course, the contents were very explosive, all the email contents and all the other things that WikiLeaks revealed to the world. But if there is one media source in this entire world where you can rely 100% your faith upon is, among the media outlet, is WikiLeaks. WikiLeaks had never had to retract their story. And Hillary and John Podesta and the DNC, they never denied the content of what WikiLeaks exposed. So just by that, you can find out that the content itself is 100% legit. Nobody denied that the content never existed and somehow WikiLeaks fabricated it. It's not like that. WikiLeaks got the content 100% correct, and they just revealed it. Probably that's illegal. Who knows? I mean, it might be illegal, but you cannot criticize WikiLeaks that the content is somehow fabricated. And if you think about it, the New York Times or Washington Post or Time Magazine or CNN or whatever media outlet that you can think of, they all get these kind of information from informants or from whistleblowers. Okay? It could be illegal, but they just put it out there. You saw the New York Times and Washington Post do that all the time, through the leaking that has happened throughout the past 2 years in the Trump administration. So The Guardian came out with this. I mean, Drudge Report. That was Drudge Report's top news that said that Manafort held secret talks with Assange. But if you click it, you can see from The Guardian. It's a Guardian article from Great Britain. It says Manafort held secret talks with Julian Assange in Ecuadorian embassy, sources say. And then in the bottom of that it says Trump ally met WikiLeaks founder months before emails hacked by Russia were published. You got to remember this. Paul Manafort was not in the picture. He was not in the Trump campaign picture at all. He was only there for up to 3 months, around 100 days, and he was a non-factor. The Trump campaign was already set up. His agenda was already set up. You know, people say that Steve Bannon made everything. He was the brain behind the campaign. That's not true. Trump was. That's why Trump is so unique. from other politicians. Other politicians, everybody else, make the agenda for them. For instance, Barack Obama or Hillary or George W. Bush or Bill Clinton, they relied heavily on advisors. Donald Trump is not like that. He's pretty much of a unique guy, an independent thinker who came out with all the agendas, all the agenda himself. If you look at all the agenda, his trade deal agenda, or his policy towards North Korea or China, or even deregulation, it all came out from Trump's idea. It's not like Gary Cohn or Paul Manafort or Corey Lewandowski or Steve Bannon. It's not from them. But the mainstream media want you to believe that because they want to portray Donald Trump as a buffoon. Well, in fact, I think Donald Trump is a genius. I have never seen a political genius like Donald Trump in my entire life, and I've been really into politics, American politics, since I was young, and I know what I'm saying, and that is all just trying to brainwash all the viewers and readers out there, all the people out there, and that's why you got to always be careful when you read an article from NYT or WAPO or NBC, ABC, CBS, all these mainstream media, because they're pretty much fake news at this point. So here it says Donald Trump's former campaign manager Paul Manafort held secret talks with Julian Assange inside the Ecuadorian embassy in London and visited around the time he joined Trump's campaign, The Guardian has been told. And here it says sources have said Manafort went to see Assange in 2013, 2015, and in spring of 2016, during the period when he was made a key figure in Trump's push for the White House. This is not true. And even Manafort's people deny that he ever met Julian Assange. So we'll see. And WikiLeaks also said that that Julian Assange said that he never met with Paul Manafort. In a series of tweets, WikiLeaks said Assange and Manafort had not met. Assange described the story as a hoax. Okay? So who would you believe? Would you believe The Guardian or WikiLeaks? I believe WikiLeaks. I believe Julian Assange is truthful here. They're just trying to... So this all ties up to the FISA application, the declassification. So I think this declassification of FISA is probably the biggest news, even bigger than the midterm itself. I think this will probably... It has a potential to blow up the whole world. That's what I think. I think there is something really, really explosive here. And that's why you see the deep state trying to block this coming to light. But I think Matthew Whitaker, the Attorney General, the active Attorney General right now, I think he will declassify it and it will be revealed. And we will all know what kind of contents will be there. And somehow I think the deep state is trying to brainwash people that Julian Assange, Paul Manafort, Roger Stone, and Jerome Corsi, somehow these people cooked up. These people were involved with Russia. I don't think it's Russia at all. I think there's somebody else who was involved. I have a hunch who it is, but I won't mention it today. There's somebody else. I think it was an insider job. I mean, I don't think this was hacked by the Russians. They're just trying to cook up that Russia was behind Trump's campaign. If Russia wanted somebody to be president, I don't think it was Donald Trump. I think it was Hillary Clinton. As you might already know, that the Clinton Foundation got $145 million from 9 Russian businessmen, okay? And then America had to give up 20% of uranium to Russia. And Hillary Clinton was Secretary of State, and she was the one who signed off on it. Of course, 9 people signed off on it, but if you have the Secretary of State approving it, then all the other 8 people who's working under her, they have to all sign yes, of course. You know, if the boss says yes, how can you say no, right? And where did that uranium go? I don't know. Nobody knows where that uranium go. But America lacks uranium. They import almost 90% of their uranium use per year. So why would they do this kind of dumb thing to give up 20% of their own uranium? It just doesn't make any sense at this point. So I really believe something big is going to probably come out when the declassification of the FISA application form comes to light. You know, at this point, we don't know for sure what it is. But why is it important? The FISA thing is because they made this fabricated Trump dossier, Trump-Russia dossier, and they used that to wiretap Trump campaign, wiretapping Carter Page, the volunteer who worked for the Trump campaign. So by wiretapping him, they could eavesdrop on everybody who was talking with Carter Page. Okay? And you had the New York Times article saying that informants means spies, okay? So they used informants to Trump campaign. You know, they put spies on the campaign, on Trump's campaign. And that's how, that kind of shenanigan has been going on, but the mainstream media, they don't want to even, this is supposed to be top news every single day, but they don't want it to be top news. They don't want to make this bigger than it is. They want to shrink it as much as possible. They want people to forget about this, but nobody's forgetting about this. People who are smart, who knows what they're watching, who knows what they're reading, and who knows politics, American politics, who knows how the deep state works, they will never let go of this. How can you? How could they wiretap? This is much bigger than Watergate. How can they wiretap the Trump campaign? It's unbelievable. And according to Dan Bongino, he was a Secret Service working for Barack Obama. Now he's working as a commentator. He said this. NSA Director Mike Rogers, he's the white hat here. He's a hero here. He was the one who told President Trump when he was a president-elect, he went to Trump Tower and told him, he told President Trump, hey, I think you have been wiretapped. Your people have been wiretapped. And you remember last year, it was January of last year, I believe, when Donald Trump said Barack Obama has been wiretapping him. What a sick guy. You remember that? When he tweeted that out? That is because I believe, I mean, that's what Dan Bongino said, that he has been wiretapped, and Mike Rogers, the NSA Director Mike Rogers, told Trump of that. And do you guys remember Trump never held a meeting ever again at Trump Tower after that incident? He moved to Bedminster, New Jersey. He held all the important meetings in his golf course there. There's a reason for that. So the deep state wants people to believe that this whole thing, Paul Manafort being in contact with Russia, Paul Manafort didn't even work that much. And if you read Corey Lewandowski's book, Corey Lewandowski being the campaign manager for Donald Trump, if you read his book, he says that Paul Manafort was pretty much a non-factor and just a hindrance, just an obstacle of whatever Trump was trying to do. He wanted Trump not to even appear on TV shows, and Trump got really angry about that. They were pretty much, Paul Manafort did not do anything. He had no impact, pretty much, no impact on the Trump campaign. So anyway, this is the top news right now. Manafort held secret talks with Julian Assange. So somehow WikiLeaks, now they're trying to say, the mainstream media is trying to make people believe that WikiLeaks got their information from the Russians, okay, with Paul Manafort being the middle guy. Nobody's going to believe that. Nobody's going to believe that. And everybody's just wondering, what's going to happen when the declassification comes out. I just wonder, what kind of content that it has. And I think this whole thing, they're just trying to bring the attention somewhere else. Somehow they want to break Paul Manafort down and say, and probably make him want to say that, yeah, I'm with the Russians. I teamed up with the Russians. I think that's probably what is really going on right now. Because nobody's mentioned about this, that Paul Manafort held secret talks with Julian Assange inside the Ecuadorian embassy in London. I believe this is fake news. And I believe in Julian Assange. Like I told you again, Julian Assange in a series of tweets said he has never met, and WikiLeaks people had not met with Paul Manafort. And he described the story as a hoax. And before I leave our show, I want to show our audience, our viewers, the talk between U.S. California Senator Kamala Harris and the ICE director. You got to see this. You got to see what kind of shenanigans is going on in California.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and I'd like to emphasize your point. This is a hearing to determine who will be the next head of ICE, and so this is about reviewing the perspective, the qualifications, and the experience of the nominee. So that being said, I think, Mr. Vitello, that you would agree. Have I pronounced your name correctly?
Vitello.
Vitello.
Thank you.
I think you would agree as a member of law enforcement that law enforcement, generally speaking, and certainly it would be the case with ICE officers and agents, that a great deal of your power is discretionary. You have limited resources and you make decisions about what you're going to do, but you exercise a great deal of discretion in terms of how you're going to use the limited resources and how you're going to prioritize them. And then understanding that, I think you would also agree that one's perspective and their bias, if they have bias, will influence their exercise of discretion in terms of the power they have and how it will be used and implemented. So I want to return to the question that Senator Peters asked you about the statement you made describing the Democratic Party as liberal-cratic or neo-Klanist, which was, I think the assumption there was that you were comparing it to the Ku Klux Klan, the KKK. So you said in response to his question, you're sorry because the words caused offense. So would you not be sorry if no one was offended by your words?
No, it was wrong to do.
Why was it wrong?
Because those are offensive words.
Why are they offensive?
Because they have history in this country, and I honestly did not mean it that way.
But please talk about the history. What is the history that would then make those words wrong?
Well, the Klan was what we would call today a domestic terrorist group.
Why? Why would we call them domestic terrorist group?
Because they tried to use fear and force to change political environment.
And what was the motivation for the use of fear and force?
It was based on race and ethnicity.
Right. Are you aware of the perception of many about how the power and the discretion at ICE is being used to enforce the laws? And do you see any parallels?
I do not see any parallels between sworn
I'm talking about perception.
officers and agents.
I'm talking about perception.
I do not see a parallel between what is constitutionally mandated as it relates to enforcing the law.
Are you aware that there's a perception?
I see no
Are you aware that there's a perception?
That puts ICE in the same category as the KKK. Is that what you're asking me?
No, I'm very specific about what I'm asking you. Are you aware of a perception that the way that the discretion
I see no parallel.
I'm not finished.
I see none.
I'm not finished. I'm not finished. Are you aware that there's a perception that ICE is administering its power in a way that is causing fear and intimidation, particularly among immigrants and specifically among immigrants coming from Mexico and Central America? Are you aware of that perception?
I do not see a parallel between the power and the authority that ICE has to do its job and the agents and officers who do it professionally and excellently with lots of compassion.
Sir, how can you be the head of an agency and be unaware of how your agency is perceived by certain communities?
There is a lot of perceptions in the media and in the public that are incorrect about the agency.
But the perception exists, would you agree? Whether or not it's correct. And wouldn't you agree then that if that perception exists, there might need to be some work done to correct the perception?
I do want to advocate for the workforce, the vital public safety mission that they have to protect the homeland. And I think more people need to know how valuable they are to the society. So I agree with you on that.